Fresh protests against Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro surfaced across the nation in a bid to mount pressure on the embattled leader to resign. U.S. has recognized self-proclaimed interim President Juan Guaido as the legitimate president and has issued potentially crippling sanctions against Venezuela's state oil company. Some European Union member states are expected to officially recognize Guaido next week, while others will likely take a more cautious stance of support. A high-ranking Venezuelan Air Force general has disavowed President Nicolas Maduro and now recognized opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim head of state. In the video, General Francisco Yanes called on other members of the military to defect. On his Twitter account, the high command accused the general of treason. Yanes is the first active Venezuelan general to recognize Guaido since he proclaimed himself president on January 23rd. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro remained defiant following the defection and expressed support for early parliamentary elections. Hundreds of Venezuelans gathered in central Barcelona to express their support to lawmaker Juan Guaido. Demonstrators in Barcelona carried banners in favor of Guaido and against President Nicolas Maduro, urging the latter to resign. Meanwhile, in Venezuela, defiant Maduro's socialist government has called on its own loyalists to flood streets, waving flags to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Bolivarian Revolution. Thousands of Yellow Vest protesters marched through Paris on the 12th weekend of anti-government protest. 10,000 people are estimated to have gathered for protests in the French capital. Riot police used tear gas to disperse some protesters who set bins and a scooter alight. French police officers and Yellow Vest protesters clashed across France as demonstrators entered a 12th weekend of action. Police in Paris used water cannons to disperse protesters, while in Nantes, tear gas was fired and protesters were arrested. The protest began in mid-November over plans to raise fuel taxes before developing into a broader revolt against the government. About 1,000 police officers have been injured along with 1,700 demonstrators since the start of the protests. In a mirror response, Russia has announced to suspend its compliance with the Cold War-era Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Announcement was made after the US said it would withdraw from the Arms Control Pact, accusing Moscow of violations. Moscow's relations with the West are strained over issues including Russia's annexation of Crimea, of meddling in the US presidential elections, and being behind a nerve agent attack in Britain. Sudan's Prime Minister appeared to soften the official stance on more than a month of anti-government protests. He called demonstrators economic demand. Legitimate demonstrations are being held almost daily across Sudan since December 19. Protesters have been calling for an end to economic hardship and mounting a sustained challenge to President Omar al-Bashir's 3 decades in power. Rights groups say at least 45 people have been killed in the protest, while the government puts the death toll at 30, including 2 security personnel. Thousands of pensioners marched through the streets of central Madrid demanding high state pensions. Protesters are fighting not only for their current payments but for the pensions of future generations. Taxi drivers joined the pensioners' protest as the indefinite strike against ride-sharing companies continued. The government, in its budget proposal to Parliament, announced a 6% rise in pensions, but protesters have rejected this increase. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam has vowed to remain in office despite widespread calls for his resignation after racist photos surfaced in his yearbook page from more than 30 years ago. Northam said at a news conference in Richmond that he had prematurely apologized for appearing in a racist picture. Democratic governor asserted he wasn't in the photo and had never ever even seen the yearbook until Friday. Leaders in both parties have repeatedly urged Northam to resign, saying he's lost the public's trust. President Xi Jinping made an inspection tour of Beijing military garrison, extending Lunar New Year greetings to all servicemen. During his inspection tour of the PLA's flag-raising detachment, Xi urged soldiers to keep their mission firmly in mind and sustain top-class standards. Xi also dropped in a canteen, inquiring soldiers' daily meals and the preparation for Spring Festival Eve dinner. Vatican flags lined the streets of Abu Dhabi alongside the UAE's national flag, one day ahead of Pope Francis's historic visit to the Arabian Peninsula. Residents and visitors to the country said the Pope's trip will carry a message of peace and understanding. Francis will spend less than 48 hours in the UAE and is due to make only 2 public addresses during the trip. Egyptian archaeologists have uncovered an ancient burial site containing 50 mummies dating back to the Ptolemaic era in Minya, Cairo. Now, the mummies, 12 of which were children, were discovered inside 4 burial chambers. The identities of these mummies are still unknown. Visitors gathered at the discovery site where 40 of the mummies were exhibited during the announcement. Some of the mummies were found wrapped in linen, while others were placed in stone and wooden coffins. An avalanche near the border between Italy and Austria blocked a highway, leading to thousands of vehicles being stuck in a 12-kilometer traffic jam for several hours. Italy's National Civil Protection Agency issued a statement asking drivers not to use the highway, which has been busy with tourists making their way to ski resorts. Several regions of the northern Italy are on high alert as fierce winds and snowfall have lashed the country for days. Snowfall in India's northern Shimla city disrupted traffic, leaving commuters stuck for hours in jams. Commuters, including tourists, were stuck on National Highway 5 with vehicles queuing up on the road. Several people remained stranded for several hours. The temperatures in the hilly region has plummeted several notches below the freezing point. Three people were killed after an avalanche hit a 4-member snow clearance team in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam region. 4-member team was reportedly buried under an avalanche near Pahalgam Aru Road, along with their snow clearance machine. Avalanches occur frequently in Kashmir. In 2012, a massive avalanche in the state killed 140 people, including 129 soldiers. Polish priests swapped sermons for slopes to take part in a skiing competition in Wisla, Poland. Several priests donned ski boots and helmets along with their traditional black cassocks to plummet down in the alpine skiing tournament. The annual event is in its 22nd year and was inspired by Polish Pope John Paul II, who was an avid skier. The competition draws clergymen from all over the country, and priests are divided into 4 age groups based around an 800-meter race. Prime Minister Narendra Modi led selection panel appointed IPS officer Rishi Kumar Shukla as the new CBI director, ending a suspense which continued for almost 10 days. Shukla, who will have a fixed tenure of 2 years, is expected to assume office in next couple of days. Senior Congress leader Mallikarjuna Kharge, in fact, objected to Shukla's appointment, citing Shukla's lack of experience in anti-corruption investigation. Hitting back at Kharge, Union Minister Jitendra Singh alleged the Congress leader wanted to manipulate the selection process. The Indian government issued a demarche to the American embassy after US detained 129 Indian students over charges of visa fraud. The Indian government has established consular access with them. These students have been detained for enrolling in a fake university, allegedly remain in the US. India's foreign ministry has underlined to the US embassy that the students who may have been duped into enrolling in the university should be treated differently from those recruiters who have duped them. Members and supporters of the LGBT community in India's Western Mumbai city took part in a pride parade, demand equal rights for the community. Thousands of people flooded the streets of Mumbai carrying rainbow flags, banners and placards to demand abolishment of discrimination against the sexual minorities. India's top court scrapped a colonial-era ban on gay sex in September last year in a landmark judgment that activists hope will uphold the right to equality.
Remember to speak to people who are watching